Olfactofiles. I'm Tara, and today I have a highly requested video for you all. These are my iris fragrances ranked from my least favorite to my most favorite. This was really hard to do because I love iris even more than rose, which I did that video recently. I can link it somewhere. That means that I have a lot of fragrances that feature iris. I've only picked ones where it's like very much like iris dominant. So, you know, like I have lots of other fragrances that include the note of iris or orris root, but these are the ones where it's kind of the main thing, or at least to me, it's pretty much the main thing that's in there. I feel like maybe I've forgotten one or two. I hope not, but I have 14 here either way, so we're gonna, or 13, I think I have 13 here. So either way, we're just gonna get into it because these are a lot. Before we start though, make sure that if you haven't already, you click that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and be sure to like this video and leave me a comment below and let me know what are your favorite iris fragrances. So I've sprayed all these ahead of time, and I must tell you, this room smells freaking amazing right now because there's just so much beautiful iris in the air. But in the number 13 spot, not because I don't like it, because I like all of these, but I put the 4711 Acqua Colonia Saffron and Iris. First of all, I do quite like these bottles. You can see here, they're fairly nice for being very inexpensive. This I mostly, to be honest, use as a room spray because it is quite cheap and it is a cologne concentration. So it doesn't last a super long time, although this one isn't too bad. Really, it just smells like saffron and iris. I would say in the opening, I get more of the saffron. I get more of that sort of spice there. And then as it dries down, it goes more into the iris. It's a very soft, slightly powdery style fragrance. Lasts on me maybe a couple hours, but in the air, it actually lasts longer. Probably on clothes too, but I don't usually spray my clothes. So that's number 13, and the perfumer for Saffron and Iris is Alexandra Kale. In the number 12 spot is another fragrance created by somebody by the name of Alexandra, but in this case it's Alexandra Kaczynski, and this one is Athalia from Parfums de Marly, and this bottle is stunning. I mean, they always are. Get over there, tassel. So they always are beautiful, but there's something about this like sort of black and gold combo that I really like. The reason why this is lower to me is because it's just not my style or my preference of the type of iris that's in here. It's a bit cold, and for me, it's like, it's maybe leaning more on the like orris rooty, or like you think of like how the roots are like in the cold soil, and it's sort of like that to me. Like it has a coldness to it that says like, don't come near me. but it's, you know, it's still really, really nice, and I still like wearing it occasionally. However, if you haven't noticed, I don't tend to give off the vibe of get away from me. I'm just a little bit more warm and friendly than that. Either way, I think this is, like I said, I think it's a good fragrance. It has a lot of musk in it to me as well. And I think a bit of like an ambery base with perhaps some other florals, maybe even the tiniest bit of citrus, but I'm not positive about that. Mostly it's sort of this musky, slightly ambery, but cold style fragrance to me with that iris. So if you want to tell people to flip right off, this might be the fragrance for you. All right, I'm already doubting my ranking here, but we're just gonna go with what I came up with earlier. It's too hard to decide. Basically, the first two are likes for me, but not loves, and everything else is a love. So with that said, in the number 11 spot, towards the bottom of my list, even though I love it, is this one from Lancome. This one is called Iris Dragees, or Iris Dragees, if you're American. And the bottles are beautiful. However, they've changed the packaging so that now they only have one plate. So if you were to buy a brand new one right now, it wouldn't look like this, I don't think. Anyway, so this was created by Natalie Lorson, who is one of my favorite perfumers, and you'll see her name again come up later on this list, maybe close to the top, maybe at the top. But anyway, this one is a bit lower for me because it is sweet. Like this whole line to me kind of has this theme of like a gourmand like undertone. So even though like each one features a different note, like this one is iris, of course, and the Dragees, I think it's like referring to like the Jordan almond or like candied almond kinds of things. But yeah, it's kind of like some predominant note combined with something sweet. So of course with this one, in addition to the iris, I get that sort of sweet, sugary, vanillic almond kind of vibe from it. And then I think there's a bit of musk and like a woodiness to it in the base. It is really beautiful, but I would not wear this one in the summer because of the added sweetness. I would highly recommend this for spring, maybe fall, but really I mostly wear this in the spring. And it might be my favorite from this whole collection of the Maison Lancome, but if it's not my very favorite, it's like top 2, but I think it's my favorite. All right, and the number 10 spot is another love. I really love this fragrance, and every time that I wear this fragrance, I think of Cherie from the top note because she loves this house. This is Ormonde Jayne's Vanille d'Iris, and it is beautiful. So with the house of Ormonde Jayne, if you're not familiar, it's like, it has this sort of very classy vibe to it, a little bit understated. Nothing is loud or like screechy or anything like that. Everything's really elegant, well blended. Do I love all the fragrances? No, but there is sort of that running theme that they have this understated elegance to them. And this is no exception. Vanille d'Iris was created by Xerjoff, and this one, of course, obviously there's vanilla and iris, duh, but I get a decent amount of vetiver from this one as well. And then a little bit of like a pink peppery sort of thing going on in the opening. And I believe there could be some other florals in here as well as some musks. And I think this one has carrot seed too, which is actually really common. Like you'll see with iris a lot, or orris. It's always orris root, by the way, that's where they get the fragrance from. But you'll see with iris fragrances that often things like carrot seed, musks, woody bases, I think vetiver goes really nice with it, and citruses. I feel like those are the most common notes that you see paired with iris. And then, you know, there's occasional other things as well, but I would say that this runs pretty classic in terms of some of the things that go really well with it. But the vanilla is fairly predominant in this one as well. I also love vanilla, and many of you have been asking for my vanilla video. It will come. It will come probably during my summer break because I have a lot of vanillas and it will take me some time to prep that one. Anyway, this is beautiful. I like the dry down even more than the opening of this one. It is, again, a little bit of a powdery style iris, not lipsticky by any means, but a little bit powdery. And I just think it's just such a great everyday kind of fragrance. I think you could wear this pretty much year round, although it might get lost in the cold. In the number 9 spot is a fragrance from the house of Maison Christian Dior. This one is called Bois d'Argent, and I think this one is fairly unique. There are other things that I've smelled that do smell a bit similar, but the combination of notes that are in here, they're a little bit different from the normal iris fragrance. Overall, I would classify this as a woody iris, but it does have this aromatic quality to it. I think there's cypress and juniper in here if I remember correctly. And it actually goes slightly kind of medicinal, but not in a bad way. But it does have that vibe to it. It also has some sweetness. I think there's some myrrh in here, and I don't know what else that would be sweetening it up, but it's like this sort of sweet, resinous, aromatic, woody style iris. And I really, really like it. I do have another woody iris coming up in a bit that ranks higher, mostly because I think that although I appreciate its uniqueness, it's not, again, like exactly what I love the most with an iris fragrance, but I do really, really love this one. This is just a little 40 ml. I really like this size that they offer. I wish that they offered all of the fragrances in this line in that size, but it seems like only the handful of like really popular ones are. Number 8 is another unique iris fragrance, and it's fairly new to my collection, which might give it away. But this one is from the house of Teo Cabanel, and it is called Ooh La La. So Ooh La La is a sort of gourmand style iris fragrance. It has a hazelnut note in there that's actually probably equally as strong as the iris or the orris. I also get a bit of like maybe a spicy, is it tonka-y kind of thing going on? And then I think, gosh, I remember reading there was supposed to be tobacco in here. I don't know. I still, like, I think I mentioned that in the last video I talked about this one. I don't really pick that up a lot, but it does have a beautiful, like, slightly sweet nuttiness to it. And like I said, I think that the hazelnut and the iris are kind of equally present in this, with maybe some spices, some tonka. I don't know what else. Maybe a little bit of like a woodiness, but it's just really nice, very unique. My favorite from the house for sure. So that one is Ooh La La. And I don't remember if I said who created it, but it was Patrice Revillard. In the number 7 spot is the fragrance that I am most familiar with out of all of these. And for nostalgia reasons, I kind of wanted to put it higher on the list, but I thought about like, what do I actually wear? What speaks to me the most in terms of my personality and my preferences? However, I do really love this. I just think I don't reach for it because it is a fragrance that I very much associate with my mother, who's an angel, and I love her very much. So this one is Prada's Infusion d'Iris. I feel like a lot of you have probably smelled this one before. It's been around a while, and it is just an amazing release from the House of Prada. Daniela Andrier is the creator of this and a huge number of Prada fragrances. She's their in-house perfumer, essentially. So this one is just this beautiful, like clean style iris, like a little bit soapy. There is, I think, neroli, there's vetiver in here, but it's so bright. It's so beautiful. And like I said, I think I don't reach for it because like, even though I love it, and I do wear it sometimes, like this is my mom's fragrance. It belongs to her. I mean, this bottle belongs to me, but it is so bright and beautiful, and it's perfect for her personality. Perhaps a little too angelic for my personality, but it's just stunning. Infusion d'Iris, I think, is also quite famous for its incense note, which you can definitely pick up. And a bit of cedar as well, which I really like. So you have that like sort of clean, soapy iris brightened up with some citrus. I'm not exactly sure what citrus, but some sort of citrus is in there. Like I said, there's a bit of like cedar, vetiver kind of woodiness, and then that incense, which gives it just a really nice quality that I enjoy, but it's beautiful. And I really kind of wanted to put it very, very high on my list because I have such great scent memories for this one with my mother, but I decided to put it down here because there are other ones that I personally wear more often. That being said, let's talk about another Prada fragrance, again created by Daniela Andrier. She's one of the 2 queens of Iris, in my opinion. She and Natalie Lorson are just amazing when it comes to Iris. They know what they're doing. This one is from the high-end Olfactories collection from Prada, and it's called Purple Rain, which, first of all, great name. Also, the bottles are stunning. I showed these in a recent video, but they're beautiful. However, I will say this. I will be honest here. This is reminiscent of Infusion d'Iris. However, I don't really get the incense in this at all. I don't think it's there. I don't think the incense is there. The iris is that same kind of really bright, clean iris, but here I get more vetiver than I do in Infusion d'Iris, and I get a bit of sandalwood and a clean musk in this one as well. This is not as long lasting, sadly, considering it's from the high-end line. It's not as long lasting as Infusion d'Iris, but I really like vetiver too, even though it's kind of traditionally a quote-unquote masculine note. Anyway, so I actually really like the fact that the vetiver is stronger in this one than it is in Infusion d'Iris, but I love them both probably fairly equally. However, I reach for this one more because it does have those slight differences that make it feel more like it can belong to me as opposed to my mother. All right, get ready for some bottle porn because the next 2 come in some of the most beautiful packaging, or gaudy. Well, the first one's beautiful, the second one might be gaudy, but I still love it. And I was actually quite worried originally before sampling these. I sampled them both before buying, but I was worried that it would be like all show and no, I don't know what the word would be. It'd be like no substance to it, right? However, these are both beautiful fragrances. And the first one up is from Gucci. This is Tears of Iris. I mean, look at it. Look at the bottle. Look at it. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's a normal spray bottle. It looks like ceramic, but it's painted glass as far as I can tell. It's not as heavy as ceramic, although it still has a lot of weight, feels very luxurious, and I mean, it's stunning. It's stunning. So Tears of Iris was created by Alberto Morillas, and this one has a pretty simple note breakdown, at least from what I can remember. I think it's supposed to have iris, sandalwood, a bit of angelica, and musk. To me, I definitely get the angelica, which I really like. You know, Angelique Noir from Guerlain is one of my favorite fragrances period, but one of my favorite guerlains for sure. It's probably top 3, I would say, because I have definitely Gourmand Coquine, Spiritueuse Double Vanille, which I feel like a lot of people associate with me, and then Angelique Noir. Those are some of my absolute favorite guerlain fragrances, but you can definitely get that same sort of Angelica note here with the iris. And I think that the musk plays a pretty big role here too. The woodiness to me is a little more subtle. So I mostly get the iris and the Angelica with, you know, lighter touches of the musk and the woody base. It's beautiful. It lasts a decent amount of time on me. Not forever, but I mean, I wish it would last longer, I should say. But like, it's not bad. I would say I get like maybe 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6, depending on the day. But it's not like, you know, super strong. It's not going to project a lot, but it is a beautiful sort of personal scent. And I feel like people get close to you, they'll smell you and they'll very much like the way you smell. But this is just, it's stunning. And I recently picked up another fragrance from this collection, which would have been nice for my rose video because it's a rose fragrance. The bottle, again, stunning, and the fragrance itself is also beautiful. So from what I've sampled and what I actually own of this line, I'm actually pretty pleased because I was worried that it was just going to be all about the packaging and that the fragrances themselves would suck. But so far, not so much. In the number 4 spot is the bottle that I love, but I also think can be a bit gaudy. This is from Christian Louboutin, and it is called Loubirouge. So, I mean, God, it's amazing. This bottle is insanely heavy. It's very large, like very tall, and it's just large. And I feel like you might be able to kill somebody with this, which seems to be a theme with Christian Louboutin. A lot of things that I have seen from him are very spiky and look dangerous. But anyway, so this one is, again, a fairly simple fragrance. It's cardamom, vanilla, and then of course the iris. It was created by Marie Salamagne, and it's stunning. I actually find this one to be a little bit sexy, but like not too much that you couldn't wear it to work. I definitely do wear it to work. I love this. I love it more than I expected. Now, I will tell you, if you want a cheaper alternative, the Van Cleef & Arpels Bois d'Iris or Bois d'Iris, that one is fantastic and smells pretty similar to this. Sometimes people say that this can smell similar to Bois d'Argent, but because Bois d'Argent does have that sort of juniper cypress thing going on, I think it's a bit different, honestly. I think this is much closer to the Van Cleef & Arpels Bois d'Iris one. And I did used to have that one, but I decided when I got this, because they were similar, that I would go ahead and declutter the other one. But that's a beautiful iris fragrance as well. And like I said, it's definitely a lot cheaper than this one, but you know, packaging kind of got me, and I do love the scent itself. In the number 3 spot is the iris fragrance that I feel like is most famous in the men's fragrance world. It is marketed towards men, however, I love wearing it. I find it, again, a little bit sexy, and I would love to smell this on a man. Need to find a man to put this on. But this is Dior Homme Intense. So check that out. Again, this is a men's marketed fragrance, but I don't care. It is fantastic. So this was created by Francois Demachy, and he is the in-house perfumer for Dior. So that's not surprising that he created this one. And the note that's in here that I really love combined with the iris is the note of ambrette. Now, ambrette can add like a little bit of dirtiness or sort of like a muskiness to a fragrance. I feel like once you have smelled a few, you know, maybe like a handful of fragrances that have a fairly strong ambrette note, it's pretty easy to pick up, at least for me. And this one, I just think it's a fantastic combination with the iris. It's a lipsticky iris, has the ambrette. There's like, I think, a little bit of lavender. I think there's supposed to be a touch of pear in here, maybe ever so slight. I do get vetiver in this one too, though, and some woodiness, but man, that lipsticky iris with the ambrette is just such a great combination. And I think that because ambrette does add a little bit of like a dirty muskiness to it, that's what makes it a little bit sexy. So ladies and fellas, if you don't already own this, go check it out because it's amazing. So again, that's called Dior Homme Intense. All right, these final two, it was like a battle to the death. I essentially just want to call these 1A and 1B because it's really, I can't really tell you which one I prefer more. I went with the one that I'm currently wearing more frequently, but My God, I love both of these so much. Like I said, I love all of these except for the first two, and those are strong likes, but I freaking love these fragrances. It like breaks my heart. I love them so much. So this next one, which is technically in the number 2 spot, but we're gonna call it 1B, is from Jacques Flory, and this is Ibitira from the house of Xerjoff. Now this is an old bottle, so it won't look like this if you were to purchase it now. They have not reformulated it though. They just changed the bottles because, I don't know if you can see there. So right there, there's a little chip, if you can see that. But yeah, so that's why they switched the bottles, just because the bottles chip too easily, and so they used a more round shape now. Anyway, Ibitira, oof. So good. This one lasts a really long time, first of all. So if you're looking for a beautiful iris fragrance that will last, this is definitely one of them. This is again an iris vetiver combo, which I adore, but there's a citrusiness to it. I would guess it's lemon, I think. And again, I think there's a bit of musks. There could be other florals. Oftentimes I would assume that it would be violet because violet is another note that is often paired with iris. But I think this one has like a touch of maybe vanilla, something Swedish in there. Not Swedish, like from Sweden. Sweet-ish, a little bit sweet. Anyway, so it's got a tiny, tiny bit of sweetness to it. But it has, again, that like sort of brightness from the citrus. That vetiver gives it a little bit of like a sort of like a hay-like earthy quality. Not like soil, but I don't know, just kind of like grounds the fragrance. And that iris is a beautiful, powdery, clean style iris once again. So it's amazing. I love this. I wore this a ton last year, but one that I purchased more recently, I ended up putting in the number 1 position because I've been wearing it more this year, but that could just be because it's newer. And like I said, I love them both so much. So the one that I've put in the 1A spot is a fragrance that I purchased at the beginning of this year, back I think in January. And I've been wearing it a lot, especially lately, because I think it's slightly better for the spring and summer. I think this one does well in the warmer weather, whereas Ibitira I would wear more in the early spring and then fall into winter, maybe not the depths of winter. Maybe, but definitely I love wearing Ibitira in the fall and in the like early parts of spring when it's still quite cool. But this one really shines in the warmer weather, and it's another one from Natalie Lorson, who I mentioned you would hear her name again. This one is from the house of Maison, and it is called Nuee Bleue. So I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but this house has majorly impressed me. They have like kind of these 5 original fragrances, I think, that I've tried all of them, and I like all of them. There's actually another one that I am thinking about getting, well, I kind of want all of them, but I'm not going to do that. Anyway, so they have 2 newer ones though that I haven't yet to try. However, I was lucky enough to get a ticket to a virtual like sort of house overview thing that they're doing with, I think it was Tiger Lily where I purchased that. So I think it's in the beginning of June that I get to do that, and they're gonna send samples. So I'm hoping that all 7 will be in there. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Nuee Bleue is just a lovely iris, clean musk, and citrus kind of fragrance. I think there could be some other things in there as well. There might be a touch of woodiness that kind of comes out later on. But in the opening, it's just this beautiful, bright, clean, sort of, not too powdery, a little bit, but mostly just this really bright, clean iris, maybe a little soapy. And then you get that nice white musk, which might be adding to like kind of the soapy idea that I get from it with like, I think it's either lemon or bergamot. I think probably bergamot, considering how popular that is. But anyway, it's just so bright and beautiful. And like I said, it works really, really nicely in the warmer weather. The longevity is pretty decent. Ibitira does last longer, but it's still pretty decent on this one. And it's just, I can't stop smelling myself when I wear this one or most of these. But this is what I'm going for with number 1 today. All right, so I have no clue how long I've been sitting here talking right now. Hopefully this will be slightly shorter than the last one, which was like half an hour. But those are my iris fragrances ranked. Like I said, I love them all except for a couple. And I, I just have a really hard time picking amongst them because I love Iris so much. But now I definitely want to hear from you all. What are your favorite Iris fragrances? Leave me comments down below. Let me know. There are a couple others that I've tried recently that are like really tempting me to buy. One's from Evanescence. Is that how you say the house? And that's like their Iris Cedar one. There's also Iris Shot from the name of the house that comes from. I cannot think of, they come in like those like bottles with like the sort of brownish or maroon, well, more brownish kind of leather case on them. I can't remember the name of it. And then what was the other one? There was another one that I tried recently that I really liked too. But yeah, so there are some others on my radar. But if you have recommendations, let me know because I definitely love Iris. Even if I don't need any more, I want more. So that's it. I hope you like this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you haven't already. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I would love it if you would consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. By the way, there is a giveaway for 5,000 followers going on, so you can check out that video. Not sure if it's going to come out after this one or before, but if it came out before, I will definitely link that below so you can go over there, check that out, and enter if you haven't already. But otherwise, I hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll see you next time.